there is a significant role that tech companies at the level of industry play in terms of the honing of skills of future technologists. And you're a product of this.
Yes.
And I completely agree that indeed we need to identify a way in which our existing traditional tertiary institutions or other training institutions, technical institutes, for example, can work more closely with industry. Because industry is effectively the real incubator for tech skills. We want to talk about the current state of tech in the country and then identify if this is our point A, what does our point B look like? And then how do we get there? So what's our point A?
I think it's a multifaceted sort of a problem or viewpoint that you need to look into. We definitely need to put some sort of mechanism where graduates or not even folks out of university, but really anyone who can program and anyone who can think and be a problem solver in this space, they need to go through a very organic but strategic pipeline where they are, at the end of it, they're ready for industry. And of course, there's a lot of folks coming out with computer science degrees or folks that are trying to get into tech. And we don't have the necessary trust from everybody else locally that Guyanese we are capable people, right? I don't think there is trust there. I think we're still very much, let's go overseas. Let's go to this country and get this solution done because they seem to know how it works. A lot of the graduates coming out of programs right now will not have a job, really and truly, where they feel satisfied. They'll have that job enrichment. I don't think they will. I think they'll be behind a desk, probably doing something that they don't want to do. And then they up and leave 2 years later to go to greener pastures, right? So I think that's the first problem. We need to solve the imbalance between the output of folks from the university setting or from any other technical background setting into how do we translate that into local jobs, as well as how do we ensure that they're properly transitioned from point A to point B.
Right. And I know in terms of your first highlighted point, you would have walked that path from high school into industry and you would have closed that skills gap very rapidly there. And I highlighted earlier that there is a significant role that tech companies at the level of industry play in terms of the honing of skills of future technologists. And you're a product of this.
Yes.
And I completely agree that indeed we need to identify a way in which our existing traditional tertiary institutions or other training institutions, technical institutes, for example, can work more closely with industry. Because industry is effectively the real incubator for tech skills.
Yes.
You learn the foundational things, which are necessary in traditional academic settings, but you need industry to drive it home because that's where the careers really take off. So in terms of the second one, just the trust, the recognition of talent and the trust of talent. Our company, P75 Inc., would have recently achieved, I believe, a significant milestone when it comes to demonstrating capability. Just recently. With the Guyana Energy Conference. We would have been able to pitch to them and then win the opportunity of actually rebuilding their entire conference information system. As a matter of fact, they didn't have one before we came along. So we reimagined that and we rebuilt that, a full conference information system, 2 mobile apps, registration portal, website, and it all integrates together beautifully. The conference that we had recently saw, I would probably average like at least 2 times or 3 times the amount of attendees as past conferences, and our software never cracked. Rather, it held its own. I know the last time with regards to the conference, unfortunately we weren't involved, but the website went down on the day of the conference, unfortunately. But I mentioned that because it's a testimony, and again, it's reinforcement to show that 100% Guyanese tech company was able to deliver to an international grade conference, software solutions, and demonstrates that we can and we are capable of doing this here, which I'm very pleased about. And you had an integral role to play with regards to that particular project. You are our PM.
Yeah. The Guyana Energy Conference, energy suite that we built is a great example of seeing a gap, in this case, a pretty big gap, and being able to fill it and going headstrong in. And it takes risk from the client side. But once you can deliver, and which we did, sure. I believe the first 2 or 3 months we had released the first version of the first product. Yeah. And the entire leadership team and the client was utterly impressed. They loved it and they still love it. And they're like, okay, we've picked the right folks here. And I think that inherent risk is what keeps a lot of folks back from making let me go the Guyanese route, because they perceive risk as going locally, as in A, I don't know if these guys can do it, and B, we don't really do a lot of tech, so that means they probably don't have a lot of experience. That's completely incorrect. When they look at overseas folks, they're like, oh, they're overseas, so they do a lot of tech, so the risk is a little bit less. So empirically, that's how I look at it. Like, the risk for the client is less because they perceive that the overseas folks are capable. Sometimes they are, not gonna lie. Right. And then sometimes they're just not.
Exactly.
Yeah. And most times I can tell you, when overseas folks are used, it is not an indigenous product. I can point out very few exceptions to this, but most software suites or most software products that are delivered to the public are not indigenous. It doesn't conform to some of our unique ways of doing things. And I feel like when you go overseas, you run the risk of it just being not aligned. And when it's not aligned, you don't see adoption. I see many products, millions of dollars spent on, both in the private sector and the public sector. And it's completely misaligned in terms of what is actually needed from the private sector business point of view or from the public sector point of view. And it just completely missed it. And most times it's money being wasted. And even with that, those entities still don't realize that they can come locally and work with us, and we can deliver something indigenous. There's a lot of good examples of V75 doing indigenous products for the country. The one that I'm very proud of is one called FerryPass at GUI, which is an online booking platform for all of the ferries. I believe all of the ferries except one so far in the country. So anytime you need to get on a ferry, you book through that online platform. It has registered over 500,000 tickets since 2022. It has generated about 3 billion GYD in transactions. And this is completely Guyanese based. Everything is ran end to end Guyanese. We don't outsource to anyone because we're capable. If there's a bit that we're not capable in, we would definitely partner, because partnership is nothing bad about partnering. But at the same time, it's about learning so that you can inherit those skills, so that you don't need to partner again, so to speak, if you can master it. And so when I talk about success, I say, look at FerryPass. And now look at the Guyana Energy Suite. We were able to deliver 5 products in the space of 10 months for the largest edition of the conference, for the biggest energy conference in the region. And we got some staggering numbers. I think I was looking at the numbers of day one, right, as the charts, as we were monitoring it, and we were getting a lot. I think we had in the conference period, we had about 10,000 unique views. So about 10,000 folks were, just for this conference, was able to access that website, get everything you need, and it did not slow down, not a hitch.
Right.
For the mobile app, over 2,000 downloads in the space of 3 days. I didn't actually do the entire, so in the space of 3 days, we were able to achieve that. And that is, again, 100% Guyanese. Again, we're capable people. We've always been capable. We just need to be able to see the gap. Sometimes we need to exploit the gap. Sometimes the client will need to take the risk to be able to say, let's go with these guys. But I must say, when you have more tech companies showing rather than telling, so there's a lot of folks that might be saying, oh, we can do this and we can do that, but they don't have anything to show for it. But it's about showing as well. There's a balance that you need to strike there. And I think V75 being very uniquely positioned post-energy conference is able to show not just in the public sector with FerryPass at GUI that this is our showing, but also the energy conference with this is our showing in the private sector. you just need good engineers. You need good problem solvers. You need good designers. You need good architects. You need good testers. You need good client business relationship managers. V75 has all of that. So I think it's at this point, we're at a very important pivot point where we need to capitalize on the achievements of the energy conference so that we can definitely start changing that rhetoric about Guyanese tech companies because we are capable.
And that's our mission. And that's one of the resounding things that I took away from the last few days of the conference in terms of just recognizing the amazing team that we have powering this. They're not many, but they're mighty. And what I really took away from that is how much we were able to accomplish in spite of the constraints. And we're going to continue to move forward because there is a mission afoot. We have a mission, and the mission is to change the narrative, to show what's possible. These may, on the surface level, may just seem like projects or deliveries, but to us, they're statements. They're statements to say that we can and we must. And we must not just for ourselves and the individuals that depend on us directly within the company, but we must for those who are following in our footsteps. And with that, let's take a look at the point B. If you can paint the future, taking our current trajectory, what would that look like to you?
I think for sure we have a unique opportunity to be able to leverage things like AI. Uniquely, V75 is one of the first, if not the first AI company in the country. And we're one of the first that offers tangible solutions for AI. I see us adopting AI a lot. Being able to, I think the power of AI has a lot of benefits in the private sector. But again, it's all about how we can translate that benefit so that they can see it. We can talk about, if we employ an AI agent for this particular business process, it'll make things easier. But no, if we build it and we show it to them, we'll be able to show that they could save 40% of their time spent. When you look at customer service lines, 40% of it could be routine questions that could be completely automated by AI. So I think it's about that mindset, showing, not telling, that will get us into the future. I think from the government point of view, there's been a lot of strides and a lot of plans to make sure that the ecosystem is, there's a IT master plan, and there's a lot of digitization going on. So again, it's all about how do we adopt that change in mindset. Despite we're doing a lot of things locally in the private sector. At V75, we're doing a lot of stuff in AI. We're setting new limits in terms of information systems with the energy conference. Government's intervention is critical. I think we need to have a more fully realized collaboration between government and IT companies, so that things like the foreign-mindedness can stop. The things like how do we plan for legislative changes can happen. For example, in many countries, developing or not, there's incentives for tech companies to function, to grow it, to nurture it. And we need to have that dialogue with government for us to be able to achieve what we want. Because if we don't, we will have to go through the harder route, which is going through the private sector and essentially forcing their hand to accommodate or to be able to take action, to be reactive. We don't want them to be reactive. We want to be able to go at it from both ends. We want to go for the government end, which is critical. IT companies must come together, form a common vision for what they see IT should be or software should be in the country, approach government, and let us work together in crafting how we can make that happen. And also, on the private sector side, we need to do the show, not tell mentality. And I think that's where we're heading. I think we need to work towards it. It's not going to happen on its own. Right. It's going to be something that is going to be constant back and forth and a constant challenge. But if we actually want to see real changes here, IT-wise, software-wise, we can't have it without those two balancing acts.